Beacon Hill, the name alone carries an air of quiet prestige. Nestled among the red brick sidewalks and gaslit streets of Boston's oldest quarter, it is a world preserved in time. The wrought iron fences gleam after every rain, and the copper roofs of the Georgian townhouses catch the morning sun like burnished gold. Here, tradition is currency, and reputation is inheritance. Families like mine, the Williamses, have lived here for generations. Every morning, I watch the residents from my window, men in tailored suits walking Labradors, women in pearls and cashmere coats chatting softly as they head toward the flower market. The brass nameplates beside each front door are polished daily by unseen hands, reflecting the morning light like mirrors of status. From the top floor of the Credential Tower, where the offices of Williams Real Estate occupy the uppermost suites, I can see the Charles River shimmer like a ribbon of steel beneath the sunrise. I am the vice president now. My father, George Williams, runs the company as chairman, but the reins are slowly passing to me. My life, until recently, was the very image of success. My husband, Michael Henderson, serves as executive director of Henderson Construction, one of Boston's most respected firms. Our marriage was not merely a union of hearts but of dynasties. The wedding itself was the social event of the year, the ceremony at Trinity Church, followed by a grand reception at the Boston Harbor Hotel. The Boston Symphony performed as our guests dined under chandeliers. Reporters called it a perfect alliance of legacy and ambition, and for a while, it truly was. We fell easily into the rhythm of Beacon Hill life: Sunday Mass, brunch at the Four Seasons, charity galas at the Museum of Fine Arts, vacations in Cape Cod. We were the picture of refinement. Until the cracks began to show. "Olivia, going to the hospital again?" Michael asked one spring morning, glancing up from his Wall Street Journal. The morning light spilled over his neatly folded paper and the cup of Blue Mountain coffee beside him. Ellen, our housemaid, had prepared it exactly as he liked. "Yes," I replied, setting down my glass of juice, "but this will be the last appointment." He raised an eyebrow. "I see. So, you're giving up?" The silver fork in my hand trembled slightly. His tone, casual yet cutting, left no room for empathy. 2 years of fertility treatments, each more grueling than the last, had drained me. Every month I faced hope and heartbreak in equal measure, my body aching from medications and disappointment. "I have my limits too," I said softly, trying to maintain my composure. Michael sighed, folding the paper. "There must be something wrong with your body. You should try another clinic. I've heard of specialists in New York." He said it without looking at me, his voice flat, as though discussing a business deal gone wrong. Each word struck me like a slap. I smiled faintly, the trained smile of a Beacon Hill wife, but inside something began to wilt. That night, after another silent dinner, I looked around our immaculate dining room, the silverware polished, the china gleaming under chandelier light, and realized how cold our home had become. The housemaid's footsteps echoed like whispers of pity. A few weeks later, my sister April called. Her voice trembled through the receiver. "Olivia, I'm pregnant." I paused. "Pregnant? But, with whom?" She hesitated. "He ran away. I don't want to talk about him. I didn't know who else to call." April, my impulsive, vivacious younger sister, worked as a fashion buyer, constantly flying between Paris and Milan. She was glamorous, flirtatious, and adored attention. Hearing her sound so small, so broken, shook me. "Don't worry," I said gently, "I'll come right away." That evening, the family gathered at our mansion by the Charles River. The old study smelled faintly of cedar and tobacco. Father, seated in his high-backed chair, puffed his cigar thoughtfully. "April," he said gravely, "you made a mistake, but we'll stand by you. The Williams family always protects its own." Mother nodded, her pearl necklace glinting in the lamplight. "You'll have our support, dear. Everything will be handled quietly." I sat beside her, offering a reassuring smile. Yet as the conversation ended and I returned home to Beacon Hill, unease gnawed at me. Something didn't fit, a puzzle piece missing from a picture I couldn't yet see. It was a warm evening when the call came. "Miss Williams," the hospital receptionist said, "your sister's in labor, 2 weeks early." I left the board meeting without hesitation, my high heels clicking sharply against the marble floors of the Credential Tower. My assistant called after me, but I didn't stop. When I arrived at Massachusetts General Hospital, the air was thick with that familiar sterile scent. The VIP floor, reserved for political figures and corporate executives, was as quiet as a museum. Polished mahogany walls reflected soft amber light. The air carried the faint fragrance of lilies arranged fresh every morning. Miss April was admitted 3 hours ago. Head nurse Grace Wilson whispered at the desk. Everything is proceeding smoothly. Thank you, I said, walking down the corridor. My steps were silent against the plush carpet. From the windows, the Charles River gleamed under the fading sun. Boston was bathed in gold, calm, dignified, eternal. I reached for my phone. Still no message from Michael. He had said he'd be busy with meetings tonight, but shouldn't a husband, even as a brother-in-law, care to ask about his sister's delivery? I hesitated outside the private suite marked Williams, my hand lifted to knock, but before I could, I heard a voice from within. Olivia should be at home by now, said a man's voice, Michael's. My heart stopped. Then another voice, soft, intimate, followed. The baby looks just like you, Michael. The same eyes, the same smile. April. My stomach twisted. No, it couldn't be. But then his reply came, sealing my nightmare. Yes, our child. Finally ours. Olivia's just infertile junk anyway. I made the right choice picking you. Now our new life begins. Something shattered inside me, soundlessly, completely. The world tilted. Without a word, I pulled out my phone and pressed record. Their laughter, their words, each syllable etched itself into digital memory. Through the window at the end of the hall, Boston's skyline glowed beneath the twilight. The lights of my office tower flickered like distant witnesses. Inside me, something colder than anger awoke. It wasn't rage or heartbreak, it was clarity. I see, I whispered to myself. A husband and a sister. A perfect betrayal. I turned and walked away quietly, every step deliberate. Nurses passed by, unaware that a life, my life, had just split in two. Outside, an ambulance wailed in the distance, its siren fading into the night. By the time I reached the elevator, my heartbeat had steadied. The woman reflected in the mirror, composed, elegant, calm, didn't look broken. She looked resolute. The game had changed. That night, I didn't return home. I checked into the Four Seasons Boston, overlooking the harbor. In the soft light of the suite, I played back the recording again and again. Each replay sharpened my resolve. At dawn, I stood by the window watching the sunrise turn the Charles River silver. My reflection in the glass looked unfamiliar, colder, stronger. It was time to act. I picked up my phone and dialed the first number. Father, mother, and Michael's parents as well. I'd like everyone to gather today at 11, I said in an even voice. My mother's tone trembled slightly. Olivia, what's wrong? There's something important you must hear, I replied, glancing once more at my phone screen, where the recording still glowed. Please come to the family drawing room by the river. The next call would be to the Hendersons. And then, the real reckoning would begin. The gathering, 11 a.m., the Williams family drawing room. Heavy velvet curtains filtered the early summer light, spilling a soft golden glow across the mahogany table. The faint fragrance of Earl Grey drifted through the air, a scent that once brought comfort, but today carried the quiet tension of war. I stood before them, my father, George Williams, my mother, Eleanor, Anne and Robert Henderson, Michael's parents, and finally, the detective from the private investigation firm. Their expressions were calm, unaware that their world was about to fracture. Thank you all for gathering despite your busy schedules, I began, bowing slightly. My voice was calm, measured, but carrying an undercurrent of steel. I placed my phone on the table, pressed play, and the sound of whispered betrayal filled the elegant room. The voices of Michael and my sister April, intimate, unmistakable, echoed from the device. At first, there was confusion, disbelief, and then silence. A suffocating, dreadful silence. Mrs. Henderson went pale. Her teacup trembled in her hand, spilling drops onto the saucer. My son, with his sister-in-law? Mr. Henderson's voice was low, filled with rage. And a child? Yes, I replied coolly. I've already requested a DNA test. The results should arrive within the week. My mother gripped her pearl necklace. You're not going to forgive them, are you, Olivia? Forgive? I let out a quiet, bitter laugh. A simple divorce won't suffice. The revelation. Michael is severely infertile, I said, sliding a folder across the table. He concealed this fact before marriage, blaming me for our inability to conceive. He subjected me to endless treatments, humiliation, and guilt, all while meeting secretly with my sister. Robert Henderson leaned forward, eyes narrowing. What do you mean concealed? You have proof? I opened the file. His fertility treatment records from before our marriage. He knew the truth. He married me anyway, built his life on lies, and allowed me to suffer under false blame. This is not merely betrayal. It's calculated fraud. The detective nodded and laid out another file, photographs, receipts, travel logs. 3 years of evidence, I explained. Luxury hotels, private getaways, expensive gifts, all traced to company accounts. The images spoke louder than words. Michael and April lounging by resort pools, walking hand in hand through Paris, dining in candlelit restaurants where he had once promised to take me. For 3 years, I had smiled beside him, oblivious to the storm brewing behind my back. Now, that ignorance was over. The plan. My investigation is complete, I said coldly. Now begins the retribution. My father's eyes, calm but sharp, met mine. What do you intend to do, Olivia? Perfect retribution, I answered. First, Michael will be expelled from Henderson Construction. Second, Williams Real Estate will immediately suspend all collaboration with them. Both families' names will be protected. Anne Henderson gasped, turning to her husband. Robert, is that really necessary? He didn't answer, just stared at the evidence again. He's brought shame to both our families, he muttered. Next, I continued. Michael and April's joint accounts are already frozen. Their apartment, one of my properties, will be repossessed. No asset distribution, no safety net. And afterward? Mother asked, her voice cold, detached, the tone of a woman who'd once hosted soirees with the very people she now despised. Afterward, we cut them off from Boston entirely, I said. They'll find no work in real estate or fashion. Their reputations will be destroyed. No company will touch them. Mr. Henderson nodded solemnly. It's only fitting. They've tarnished everything our names stood for. Finally, I revealed the last sheet in my folder, a draft press statement. A press conference, I said. Fraudulent marriage, concealed infertility, affair with a sister-in-law, a secret child. Boston's elite will hear every detail. Their social death will be absolute. The fall. 1 week later, the first domino fell. At Henderson Construction, Michael strode confidently into the boardroom, unaware his fate had already been sealed. Michael Henderson, his father said coldly, you were dismissed from your position as vice president, effective immediately. The board has voted unanimously for your removal. Michael blinked. What is this? Father, this has to be some mistake. Is this a joke? He demanded. Robert slammed a folder onto the table, the same documents I had shown. Do you recognize these? Fraud, deception, and a misuse of company funds for your mistress. You're lucky we're not pressing charges. By that afternoon, Michael's office was emptied into boxes. The once celebrated heir left the building flanked by security guards. Whispers followed him down the hall. April's downfall came just hours later. Ms. Williams, your employment is terminated effective immediately, said her HR director. Your conduct violates our company's ethics code. Her protests meant nothing. Her ID card was confiscated, her access revoked. By evening, her phone rang again, the luxury apartment manager. You must vacate today, he said politely. Owner's decision. She screamed, but the staff didn't flinch. The apartment was mine. Every lease, every key, every lock, mine. The confrontation. April burst into the Williams home later that night. Mascara streaked down her cheeks. This is your doing, she screamed. How could you destroy us like this? You're heartless. Father's voice thundered through the drawing room. How dare you raise your voice in this house after disgracing it? But the baby, she pleaded. Mother stood. The child will be cared for, but not through you. You will receive nothing, not a cent. April's sobs echoed as she was escorted out. The front door closed with a heavy click, sealing her fate. The destruction. Over the next few days, everything crumbled around them. Their credit cards were cancelled, their cars repossessed. Every door in Boston closed to them, from business to society. Invitations vanished. Whispers replaced greetings. Soon they were living in a dim motel near the city outskirts, stripped of luxury, pride, and purpose. "Michael, what will we do?" April whispered, rocking their child in her arms. He stared blankly at the wall. "This is Olivia's doing," he murmured. "She's not stopping." And he was right. The Boston Globe's morning edition sealed their ruin. Heir to prestigious company conceals infertility. Father's secret child with sister-in-law. Their photos sprawled across the front page, entering hotels, secret meetings, smiling like the liars they were. The scandal swept through Boston's high society like wildfire. Doors closed. Allies vanished. Their names became curses whispered behind champagne glasses.